Good evening, friends. Welcome to a late night edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, you know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective. And if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight, I just want to quickly talk to you about Roberta Laundrie. That's Brian Laundrie's mother. She breaks her silence today and tries to explain what the letter was and the meaning behind the letter. And we're going to get into it tonight. Again, I want to say a special thank you to you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, all the folks who positively engage in this community. You guys are what makes this a great place. So I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you, the subscribers, the replay viewers, the moderators, the folks who leave comments and chat with me in and after the live stream ends in the comment section down below. Hey, I wanted to get your thoughts, but quickly before we get going, I want to make sure this mic is working. So is the mic working? Because last live stream I did, it wasn't working. I was using the camera mic. So I want to make sure this is working. So I'm going to wait for like maybe Kristen from, hey, yeah, let's unpack that. Let's get a mic check. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because the last time we went live on Saturday morning, some reason it just unconnected. So it looks like this is going good. Facebook user saying, look, I'm going to highlight some of these comments because I can't see who this is, but thank you to our viewers on Facebook. So there's a mic check from one of our Facebook group users and maybe another Facebook group user that didn't authenticate themselves, so we don't know who it is. Thank you, Tracy, for giving me a 5x5. Anita is also checking in. Miss Donna Marie. Victoria, it's my sister's name. I'm partial to that name. Sounds good, says Suzanne Myers. Thank you from Bakersfield, California. There's a lot of other news that was going on today. You know, we got notice as well before we get into the Roberta Laundrie basically breaking her silence. There was 4 United States citizens that went into Mexico, and 2 of them were murdered. One was injured, and another one was unhurt. And that was also breaking news today, coming out of Mexico. And it's a sad reminder that when you travel outside of the country, especially into Mexico, it's a dangerous place. So just be careful if anybody has plans for traveling. Thank you, Sergeant George Ishag, for the mic check. If you have plans to travel outside of the country, be very careful. And please reconsider going into Mexico because it is a dangerous place nowadays. Also, Angela Polina, that's the step monster of baby Thomas Valva, took the stand yesterday and today, and she testified in her own defense. This is like kind of Murdoch trial-esque. She got on the stand. She stands charged with murder in the 2nd degree of baby Thomas Valva. He was frozen in early January of 2020 in his garage, autistic young little boy from Long Island, my hometown. And his father, Michael Valva, was convicted, found guilty of murder in 2nd degree and sentenced to 25 years to life just a few short months ago. And she's on trial right now, and she testified yesterday and today, basically trying to put the blame on her ex-fiance. It's a bunch of bullshit, but I'm going to be following that case closely. So I wanted to just play a little bit of my good friend JB over at WFLA Now. He covered this case today. So he had Pat Riley, the attorney for the Petitos and the Schmidts. Pat Riley is representing them in their civil lawsuit, right? So by a show of hands here in the chat, how many of you guys have been following this closely? And again, this is a civil, not a criminal lawsuit. And the letter that Roberta Laundrie wrote to Brian Laundrie, and it has no date on it, basically says, burn this after reading. And there's a lot of verbiage but none of it is released officially. So Pat Riley had a chance to look at this letter at the FBI office, and Steve Bertolino, as we know, he's now a co-defendant in this civil lawsuit. He's a co-defendant along with Roberta and Chris Laundrie. That's the Brian Laundrie's parents. I don't know how many of you here are parents, but it really doesn't matter whether you're a parent or not. You could be an aunt, an uncle, you can, be a mom or a dad to a dog or a pet or an animal. We care about our loved ones, right? And Gabby was living in the Laundrie household for an extended period of time. I don't know the exact dates and the exact time frame, but I know that if my son was dating somebody and she moved into my home here, and they got engaged and they went on a road trip across the country, and my son came back with her vehicle, I wouldn't plead the fifth. And I maybe would retain an attorney for my son, um, but I wouldn't just shut down. It's just not a human thing to do. And this is what the Laundrie family did. They have not said one word to Nicole Schmidt, to Joe Petito. These are Gabby's parents. Not one single word. As a matter of fact, they blocked them when they tried to communicate with them on September 11th of 2021. They tried to communicate with them and they blocked both of those people. And that's a real cruel and callous thing to do when your son returns back from all the way across the United States in his fiance's Sprinter van, and he parks it in their garage and hides it, and they go on camping trips and life just goes on for them. So these are some of the things that I took major offense to as a human being, as a father, as a retired police detective, and just again as a human being. Who does that? Who does that? And feels good about it. I mean, cold, heartless, callous. I mean, I'm seeing some of this stuff in the chat here. Again, I'm all for protecting your son, your daughter, whatever the case may be, is protecting their rights, right? But doing the right thing would be a communication with the Petito and Schmidt family, just giving them some type of communication. And there's no excuse for it. It's despicable and disgusting and disgraceful, evil, sick, twisted, like all of the above. I mean, I think I'm hitting all the check marks here, and when you listen to reports like, WFLA Now, News Nation, ABC, all the major networks, they're restricted on what they can say. And that's what I love about YouTube, is that I could come on here and let you guys know how I feel, and we could let each other know how we feel, right? Because there's nothing that's throttling us from talking about how we feel. And there's a great conversation out there, is if it is determined that Roberta and Chris Laundrie knew that Brian, their son, killed Gabby and were holding back information, can they be charged? How many people here in the chat, if that in fact is proven that they had knowledge of what happened, that they should be charged? Put a 1 in the chat if you feel they should be charged. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't feel they should be charged, or put a 3 in the chat if you're unsure. Now, under Florida state statute, there is certain rights and things that are afforded to the Laundries. Now, I'm going to get a criminal defense attorney on board to speak strongly about this, because that's not really my forte, right? 100 ducking 1 says, yeah, let's unpack that. Okay, so I think it's many of us feel the same way, but there's others that feel differently about it. So let's take a listen to what Pat Riley, the attorney for the Petitos and Schmidt family in this civil lawsuit, let's take a peek and listen to what he had to say. JB is a good friend of mine. I I moderate for WFLA now. You saw me in the chat. Some of you guys, anybody here that saw me in the chat? Yes, Lorraine Lawrence says, I'm not sure. I'm unsure. And it's really not a clearly painted picture, because when lawyers that are representing the Petitos and Schmidt family, like Pat Riley, are asked these questions, they don't really give straight answers about criminal charges. They're on the case for the civil charges, right? It's a civil lawsuit. So let me get rid of this hat. But I wanted to show the hat that I'm wearing because it's EquiSearch Midwest. So let me go solo with this. EquiSearch Midwest, that's Twyla and Dave Rader and a bunch of other great people who volunteer to search for the missing. EquiSearch Midwest, I support them. I'm the law enforcement liaison for them. And just a tremendous group of people that volunteer to search for the missing. They were on standby for Gabby Petito. So they were ready to go over to Grand Tetons and search for her. And I was in communication with Gabby's dad, Jim Schmidt, her stepdad. They don't even refer to Jim as the stepfather. He's like a father. He's a second father to Gabby. That's Nicole Schmidt's husband. So we were in communication with Jim because he was out in the Grand Tetons, and he went out there to, bring his daughter home. So Lost is not alone. EquiSearch Midwest, if you can, get around and support them. Dr. Sexy, good to see you. Thank you for being here, and always great to see everybody. So let's play this. It's just like 5 minutes. It's an hour and 51-minute live stream, but I'm going to just play the part where he interviews Pat Riley. So this is the setup. JB from today. Hey JB, WFLA now. He interviewed Pat Riley, attorney for the Petitos and Schmidts. And let's listen into what he had to say because it's pretty interesting.
Live on WFLA now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Buno.
Nearly a year and a half after the murder of Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie's mother breaking her silence, explaining why a private letter to her son that allegedly contains reference.
All right, let me know quickly in the chat by putting a 1 if you could hear that volume, because I had a problem with this the last time. So let me know, Joey Brooklyn, or somebody give me a Tara Petito is the second mom. Absolutely. Hello to Mav Berena. Good to see you, Mav. I love that you're here. Natasha Richardson as well. Just let me know if you can hear it. Just place a 1 in the chat if you can hear WFLA. I just want to make sure you guys can hear it. Hi, Natasha. Okay, thanks, Sean B. Sean B, huge supporter of the Petitos and Schmidt family. Thank you, Sean B, for everything you do on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the social platforms. Sean B, always there for Gabby Petito. You could see her profile picture. Sean B, put something in the chat so I can highlight you. I want to get you up on the screen. You guys could see her profile picture. It is a picture of Gabby Petito. Georgia Culture, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. I'm waiting for Sean B to comply with the lawful order to make a comment so I can put you up there. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. And then let's just get into it. Oh, there she is. All right, so there's Sean B. Listen, everybody give her a round of applause because the unbelievable, the way she not only memorializes Gabby Petito, but supports her family with respect and dignity is tremendous. She's a tremendous, tremendous supporter of this family. So, round of applause all around for you, Sean B, and for everybody who supported this family. All right, let's let it rock.
To a shovel burying a body should remain.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Live on WFLA Now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Buno.
Nearly a year and a half after the murder of Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie's mother, breaking her silence, explaining why a private letter to her son that allegedly contains references to a shovel burying a body should remain private. We're live with the latest new court documents, plus a live interview starts now on WFLA Now. Hello there to you folks. Good afternoon, nearly good evening here with you on the East Coast. JB here with you live in the WFLA Now Stream Center. We're going to get to our live interview here in just a moment. But first, if you want to read more on this story, my report filed last night on WFLA.com, Brian Laundrie's mother breaking her silence for the very first time. Joining me live on stream, Pat Riley, the attorney for Joe Petito, for Nicole Schmidt. We put out interview requests to all attorneys attached to this story and these latest developments. Pat was the one who agreed to do an interview with us on WFLA Now today. Stephen Bertolino declined our interview request.
Shocker.
As well as comment. Same with Matthew Luca, the Florida attorney representing the Laundries. Pat Riley, let's get right into this here. You're one of the few people who have seen this letter. You saw this letter. You told me that you saw this letter when you were at the FBI, I believe in June of last year. The FBI was returning evidence that they had collected over the course of the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie investigation. And one of the pieces of evidence that they were returning to the respective families was this letter, a letter that you read. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, JB.
And what can you break down the contents of that letter, Pat?
Well, it's difficult to do. I haven't seen it since June of last year, and I don't frankly remember if I read the entire letter or not. There were certain portions of it that stuck out. So I'm not comfortable discussing the letter in its entirety. I just know that there were certain portions of it, including the offer to help bury a body, that stand out in this.
So I'm going to make sure that I have this correct from my notes, because we've had a lot of conversations, you and I, as I've been trying to, of course, do as much accurate reporting on this story as I possibly can. You had mentioned that there was, to me, that when you read the letter, again, back in June of last year, that there was a reference to a shovel, to burying a body, and even, I believe that you mentioned in a News Nation interview, something to the effect of helping get Brian out of prison. We now have this letter right here from Roberta Laundrie, where she writes about 8 paragraphs or so explaining why she wrote this letter. I'm going to skip ahead because I know that a lot of our audience has already seen this on our website. So I'm going to skip ahead, and I just want to read for you the final paragraph, her conclusion, her final statement on this. And it reads as follows. I repeat, the letter that I wrote to Brian before he left with Gabby for their fateful trip was nothing more than a private communication between myself and my son, and I never expected anyone else would read it. In some way, I did not want anyone else to read it, as I know it is not the type of letter a mother writes to her adult son, and I did not want to embarrass Brian. That is why I wrote burn after reading on the envelope, and I knew that Brian would know what that meant. I am now appreciative that he actually kept it. And then it's signed here by Roberta Laundrie. When you read these words, Pat, these are the words of a mother who lost her son to suicide, lost her future daughter-in-law to murder. Of course, this tragic situation that we have been reporting on for a year and a half. What do you make of this letter?
Well, when you look at the things that you just read, where she said that this is not the type of a letter a mother writes to her adult son, well, that's absolutely correct. Who writes a letter to their adult son saying they'll help bury a body and say some of the other things? And it's no surprise she didn't want anyone else to see it. But now she wants to provide an explanation for the letter and have us accept her word as to what was actually in the letter and what its intent was, but she doesn't want to provide the letter.
And I'm kind of working backwards here because Pat does not have, of course, all day to speak with us on stream. And we're going to be going more in depth into each paragraph here when Pat is off the call in about 10 to 15 minutes or so. But as far, again, as a reminder, this is a letter that Roberta wrote to Brian that said burn after reading on the envelope. And it in this letter that we now have a letter to the court, it's written here some of the reasoning behind the letter itself.
This blows my mind.
She makes references to some children's.
This blows my mind that that Steve Bertolino, you know, he coached her on this, right? This blows my mind that she had the gall to make reference to a children's book. The reference of burn after reading. So Roberta Laundrie, through her attorney and through the people, you know, Bertolino is a co-defendant now, but you know that this scumbag is coaching them on what to say. And this is what they come up with after months and months that this letter and this note has been out there. She comes up with an analogy of that it's from this children's book. Burn after reading. Give me a break, man. It's despicable. It's really bad. All right, I'll let the rest of this play.
Books, including the runaway after reading on the envelope, and it in this letter that we now have a letter to the court. It's written here. Some of the reasoning behind the letter itself. She makes references to some children's books, including The Runaway Bunny and Little Bear, and then she also makes reference to a book by the title of Burn after Writing. What do you? This is very fresh to you. You and I were just talking off stream a moment ago that you're just processing this from a legal standpoint as we're processing this from, of course, from a reporting standpoint. But what do you make of some of the explanations and some of the reasoning behind what she wrote in this letter that we still have not seen?
Well, I've not read the Runaway Bunny or the Little Bear, although after reading this, I did take the time to look it up, and there was a YouTube video of someone reading it, and I'll tell you, I didn't see anything in there about helping to bury a body. And I find it difficult to believe that she's alluding to children's books as though when she was writing this letter to Brian, she was thinking of children's books or she had read a child's book with him. It's a very self-serving document intended to draw attention away from what it really says. And I think that this needs to get before a jury and let a jury decide when it was written and what its intent was.
As I noted, we're kind of working backwards here. This letter has been filed in Sarasota County Circuit Court for those who have not read the story yet and are watching this for the first time. And it was attached to a motion for a protective order. Matthew Luca has filed this on behalf of his clients, Chris and Roberta Laundrie. They very clearly, Pat, do not want this letter to be made public. They don't want this letter to be part of the discovery process, something that you filed in Sarasota County Court with the judge there in Sarasota County Circuit Court, now Judge Danielle Brewer. You did that back in December. What do you make of the motion for a protective order to prevent this from ever seeing the light of day?
Well, it's unusual to have a motion for a protective order. I want you to see it, while on the other hand, the affidavit that's attached to it tells us what portions.
So essentially what they're saying here is the attorney for Roberta and Laundrie is trying to suppress this. They're trying their damnedest to not get this out under the guise of that this is a loving mother trying to rekindle and recoup a relationship that was gone awry with her son. They're going to talk about that in a second. And that to me is a oh hell no moment, because
oh hell no,
I'm not buying that. That's a load of hogwash right there. So you're going to hear Pat Riley go into the attorney making an excuse that this letter shouldn't be put out there because it's a loving mother having a conversation with her son way before he killed Gabby Petito, which is bullshit, is the best that I could put it. It's bullshit. And I know that if JB on WFLA Now was able to talk like that, he'd say the same thing. If I talked to him offline, he probably would tell me, Ron, I agree with you. It's bullshit. But he can't do it on there. And that's why I'm here tonight, to help give a little bit of a commentary to this.
Of the letter they want us to know about.
Pat, do not want this letter to be made public. They don't want this letter to be part of the discovery process, something that you filed in Sarasota County Court with the judge there in Sarasota County Circuit Court, now Judge Danielle Brewer. You did that back in December. What do you make of the motion for a protective order to prevent this from ever seeing the light of day?
Well, it's unusual to have a motion for a protective order. Want you to see it, while on the other hand, the affidavit that's attached to it tells us what portions of the letter they want us to know about, and doesn't really address the other portions of it, other than to say that I believe that the phrases that were used in the letter are not found in the book she shared with Brian as a child. However, they're common enough in our circle of friends and family to describe who you could turn to in the most troubling times of your life. I know over time I've said to my children, I would do anything for you. I don't think I've ever said I'd help bury a body, and I don't think I'd ever said I'd help them to cover up a crime.
Very interesting. The fact that we are hearing from Roberta Laundrie for the first time through these words, and while we do not know who authored each and every individual sentence, this is a personal note where she also goes into detail, Pat, about how for the first time we're learning. I'm going to read it here on the second page. The purpose of this letter was to reach out to Brian while he and I were experiencing a difficult period in our relationship. Brian and I had always had a very open and communicative relationship, and in the months prior to the trip, our relationship had become strained. And then she goes into how she revisited some of these stories to, quote unquote, describe the depth of a mother's love. What's your anticipation if it is Judge Danielle Brewer? I believe that she is the judge presiding over the lawsuit going forward. What's your anticipation? Let me ask you this first. Do you still intend to get this letter admitted as evidence in this case? Do you plan to proceed?
Absolutely.
And what do you expect Judge Brewer will decide?
Well, when this letter was discussed at the last hearing that we had, I made the same arguments to Judge Brewer that I'm going to make when we're back in court again, and that is that this letter is relevant because it shows if it was written after Gabby was murdered, it shows that Roberta Laundrie and Christopher Laundrie were aware of the murder and were helping to take steps to cover that murder up.
That in itself makes it criminal. That's covering up, aiding and abetting. That's a crime. So we're not talking civil right here. So what Pat Riley just alluded to, and this is a big if, he just said, if it's determined that this letter was written, now it's convenient that there's no date on it. And they're using this non-date bullshit to claim that this letter was penned way before Gabby Petito was murdered by Brian Laundrie. And that's, as we all know, that is the biggest hunk of bullshit that I mean, it's ridiculous. It's actually, it's insulting to even hear this. But Pat Riley here kind of goes and says something that is important and is something that all of us, and I saw in the chat, dozens of questions about, can they be held accountable criminally? So let's take a listen.
I don't know when that letter was written.
What's your anticipation? Let me ask you this first. Do you still intend to get this letter admitted as evidence in this case? Do you plan to proceed?
Absolutely.
And what do you expect Judge Brewer will decide?
Well, when this letter was discussed at the last hearing that we had, I made the same arguments to Judge Brewer that I'm going to make when we're back in court again, and that is that this letter is relevant because it shows if it was written after Gabby was murdered, it shows that Roberta Laundrie and Christopher Laundrie were aware of the murder and were helping to take steps to cover that murder up.
Bingo.
I don't know when that letter was written. It's not dated. And I'm not going to take Roberta Laundrie's word for when it was done. She's just choosing to speak out at this moment. And so I think she ought to be cross-examined about it. I think she ought to have to testify to a jury, let a jury decide if she's telling the truth, if she's credible. and then decide whether and then decide what the intent of the letter was.
The big thing with this letter, as you just noted, is that you've held it in your hand, you've read it. I've also been communicating with Stephen Bertolino, the New York attorney for Chris and Roberta Laundrie, and as well as Brian Laundrie before, of course, he died. And they have told me that there is no date on this letter. They have also repeatedly communicated to me that this has nothing to do with Gabby Petito. As far as the actual date and when this letter was written, I'm going to read it here from paragraph 4. Roberta says, "I wrote the letter to my son, Brian Laundrie, on or about the end of May 2021. Although I do not know the exact date I wrote the letter, I do know that I wrote it and gave it to Brian before Brian and Gabby left for New York, which was on June 2nd of 2021. The date, Pat, of course, is going to be so key. But do you know if the letter itself, again, you having read it, does it mention Gabby Petito by name at all?
JB, I just got to look at it briefly back in June. I don't recall, except for the suggestion about helping to bury a body. I don't remember if Gabby's name is mentioned in that document or not. I'll tell you this, what's interesting is I got a brief moment to look at it in the FBI chambers, and Attorney Bertolino said, well, of course, you're going to get this through discovery, so you'll get to read it then. And here we are fighting for something he told me he was going to provide.
So according to you and according to that conversation, Bertolino had an expectation that this was going to become public at some point. You are trying to get it through the discovery process. We have, in the media, of course, submitted FOIA requests for the federal government to release it now that the FBI's investigation is closed. How confident are you that we're going to see this letter? And in your opinion, do you think it is going to shine new light on a story that for so many people, some have moved on, some haven't?
I'm confident we're going to get the letter, whether it's through the FOIA request or whether it's through discovery. I think we're definitely going to get it.
What's next or actually, before I even ask about what's next, have you talked to Joe Petito? Have you talked to Nicole Schmidt? What is their response to hearing from Roberta for the first time? I remember going back, how frustrated they were that they could not get a hold of Roberta and Chris Laundrie, Brian Laundrie's parents. And now this is really the first time that we're hearing from Roberta publicly. What has been their response if you've chatted with them?
Yeah, I can tell you that Nicole is extremely upset. She is offended that Roberta Laundrie would utilize Gabby in defending herself with regard to that particular letter, but chose to keep quiet when they were looking for Gabby.
And your expectation as far as Judge Brewer's decision, as far as what's next, a hearing is going to be scheduled, as I understand it, right, where this letter and whether or not it becomes public is really going to take center stage, if you will. What's your expectation? I mean, the Laundries are maintaining that this is personal, this is private, and has nothing to do with Gabby Petito, and therefore it should not be part of this lawsuit. You, of course, are maintaining the exact opposite, that it does pertain to Gabby Petito. It does.
They want it suppressed because they're protecting themselves, as they did from day one. The Laundries pled the fifth, gave their attorney's card to the police officers from the Northport Police Department when they came on September 11th to check on Gabby Petito to see if she was there or still alive, or, did a welfare check. And they're continuing this. They don't want that letter out because that letter will not be anything good for that. It won't be good for Roberta. So they're suppressing this letter because it's not going to be in their favor for this letter to be released. It's not about privacy and about this was a mother communicating with her son. If she was such a loving mother and had such concern about her son, why didn't she have any concern about somebody else's daughter? Why did she not say anything about Gabby Petito until today? Why did she not speak until March 7th of 2023? Think about it.
Pertain to her murder, and it does pertain to the Laundrie's conduct. What is your expectations for when this hearing might be? And also, what are your expectations for what might happen?
Well, if I had written this letter, I'd be doing the exact same thing and saying this has nothing to do with Gabby's murder. This was written months before. But curiously, the letter is undated. I don't expect that we're going to get this before the court until sometime in May or June. It's just difficult to get scheduling time with the court. And then when you add to it that there's 3 attorneys involved, it's difficult to coordinate everyone's schedule.
And while I have
That's
you,
not to suggest, by the way, that other counsel haven't been cooperating and getting things scheduled. They absolutely have.
while I have you, let's just change gears here for a minute. There's another hearing that has been scheduled for May. Laundrie, longtime family attorney for the Laundrie, Stephen Bertolino, has filed a motion to dismiss the amended complaint, to dismiss Judge Brewer's ruling that he is to be added as a co-defendant on the lawsuit. Your comment on his motion to get that thrown out.
Sure. The arguments that are raised both in their motion to dismiss the complaint and the one that was raised by Attorney Luca on behalf of the Laundries is just a rehash of the issues that the court's already decided. So the rulings by Judge Carroll are the law of the case, and they don't get a chance to revisit those issues at this time.
Pat Riley, before we let you go here on Zoom, any other final thoughts, any other updates on this case, and also too your expectation for the docket has it right now as a court case that is expected in August of 2023, but with all of these pretrial motions still to be heard, your expectation for when this actually does go to a jury trial, if it does make it in fact to a jury trial.
I don't know the answer to that. I know it's not going to go in June. We have a conference scheduled with the judge sometime this month to set new deadlines. So at this point, I don't have any expectation of when it's going to occur.
Pat Riley joining us here live on WFLA Now. Pat, thanks a whole lot for joining us, for your time, and we'll of course be, I'm sure, be chatting in the future as further developments occur in this case. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, JB.
All right, Pat Riley here joining us, everybody, live on stream. Grateful for Pat taking some time out of his day to speak on behalf of his clients. As a reminder, as we do when we cover stories, we are always striving to be fair and balanced. At the same time today, I reached out to Stephen Bertolino. I reached out to Matthew Luca. I asked them for an interview or comment. They declined both. So we will not.
Shocker that they declined both. So that was the coverage, and thank you, JB, for that coverage. I chose to use that because he spoke with the attorney, Pat Riley, and I think Pat Riley gave us the best information that we could have at this time without compromising any of the details of this case. Now, yes, Pat Riley said that he saw this letter in the FBI office after Brian Laundrie's body was recovered, and it was determined that he killed himself by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So in the FBI office, Pat Riley did see this letter, but was not afforded a copy of it. Stephen Bertolino has a copy of it because it was his client's letter that she penned. So Freedom of Information Act, there's 3 or possibly 4 different ways that this will be released. It'll be a ruling from the judge, Freedom of Information Act, and voluntary disclosure by the Laundries through their attorney, which the latter, Luca, is the attorney that's representing the Laundrie family now, because Bertolino is a co-defendant. That possibility is remote, and I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't hold my breath. So that's what we're looking at here. And again, this is troubling on many different levels because, again, throughout this whole ordeal, Gabby Petito, her family reported her on September 11th of 2021. It is March 7th of 2023. And this is the first that we're hearing from Roberta Laundrie only because she's being sued civilly. There's a civil lawsuit. And she felt compelled to make a statement here today. And that the statement that she made was bullshit. It was just hogwash. Lady Catherine Perry, thank you. I want to go to the chat. Let me know what you think in the chat about this. Just keep it pertaining to, again, Roberta Laundrie breaking her silence. What is your thoughts? If you can't or you don't want to leave it in the chat, let me know down below in the comment section. I don't have really a whole bunch more to talk about on this. But again, there's so many cases that are moving forward. The Dylan Rounds case out of Lucin, Utah, there was a arrest or charges put on to James Brenner for the murder of Dylan Rounds, murder in first degree, desecration of a human body. I'm going to have a criminal defense attorney on with me tomorrow night. So if you're not yet subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and share this video out with your friends on social media. Put it on Reddit, put it wherever you want to put it. But tomorrow night, I believe at 9 p.m., I'm going to have a criminal defense attorney, courtesy of Tiffany Lennart, our good friend, cellular data expert. She's one of her friends. And I think Tiffany's going to come on with us to talk about cell data in the Dylan Rounds case. Also, there was a preliminary or some hearings on a trial commencement date for Sincere and Classic. Those are our boys from California City. And that trial is going to commence shortly. And I hope it starts sooner than later. So there's just so much going on in the true crime arena with trials and movement in cases that we've covered in the past. So we're going to, circle back to these cases and speak about it. So it's going to be bittersweet for Roro and the entire Bakersfield community when Sincere and Classic, Orrin and Orson West's, the trial for Trezell and Jacqueline West commences. It's going to be bittersweet because we're looking to get guilty verdicts across the board on these two scumbags who stand innocent until proven guilty of murder of these two beautiful baby boys. So stay with us for coverage on that, because once that trial commences, I'm going to be covering that day to day. Thomas Valva, we're looking for Angela Polina, the jury, to bring back a guilty verdict, and that's going to be wrapping up soon. I will do a full live stream on Thomas Valva and all of these cases that we are covering. So let me just look at the chat and see what everyone's thinking. Yeah, KH Walker says our precious babies. Yeah, Tracy King, thank you for being here. Just so much stuff going on. There's just it's hard to keep track of it all, to be honest with you. There's just so many things that happen that lead up to these trials commencing, and it is a lot to keep up with, but we will keep on top of it. Ed Wallace should be coming back home soon. He should be back with us. Karen, Legal Minded Friends over in the UK. Everyone should go follow her. She's a criminal defense attorney in the UK. The systems are pretty similar, but some of the procedures are a little bit different over in the UK, but it's basically the same. Our criminal justice system is mimics the UK's criminal justice system. So follow my good friends Joey Brooklyn and a whole bunch of others that are here on the live stream. Police Off the Cuff, I can't tell you, there's such great stuff with Police Off the Cuff going on. Bill's going to have a genealogist on tomorrow night with him, so it's going to be back-to-back DutyRon, Police Off the Cuff. I don't know the actual sequence. It's whether it's Bill going to be first and me second. But tomorrow night it's going to be very busy. Police Off the Cuff and Crime Time with DutyRon. Jennifer Nobles is in the chat. There she is, my good friend. Thank you, Jen, for sending me that info. I know, you said, "Oh, I'm sorry you're live." You can text me anytime you want, anytime, day or night. I want to know what's going on with the boys. So if you have any additional information, just let me know. Marlene Cantu says, I think it's disgusting. She only spoke out because it affects her. Absolutely. Still no compassion towards Gabby's family. I hope they're charged if it's proven that they know, that they knew. Hey, Marlena Cantu, that is what is the statement of this live stream. And I'm going to leave that up just for a couple of more minutes because you hit it right on the head. I mean, I couldn't have said that any better. It is disgusting that she's referring to Roberta Laundrie here, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's disgusting that Roberta Laundrie only spoke out because it affects her. Still no compassion towards Gabby Petito's and the Schmidt family. I hope they are charged if it's proven that they knew. Amen to that, sister. Amen to that. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined, and for those of you who had questions, yeah, Joey Brooklyn, that's a classic, right? The dirty laundries. These people, let me just say this. These people are foul on so many different levels. And, you know, I put this guy's picture up just for one reason and one reason only, to show you the face of evil. This is a murderer who decided to take the coward's way out. You know, I am a father of two men, two boys. My little boys grew up to be men. And I don't wish this on my worst enemy, right? I don't wish this situation on my worst enemy. Having your daughter murdered by somebody's son. And it was just compounded tenfold by the way the laundry is acted in the days, weeks, months, and years following what happened and what we now know to be a murder, a cold-blooded murder of Gabby Petito. And for them to be so callous and so cold-blooded to as not to once ever express condolences or reach out to anybody from the Petito and Schmidt family just goes to show you that, you know, there's people who walk around amongst us with ice water running in their veins. I mean, that is the most despicable thing that a human being can do, is ignore the fact that one of their loved ones, their son that they created, took their daughter's life, snuffed her life out, and now they are just ghosting them like they don't exist. It's up. It's a double f***ing. It's horrible. So, again, it is what it is, guys, and you know, we are seeing it unfold right before our very eyes, you know, and we're seeing it unfold right before our very eyes. And there's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE 7233. That's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. There is an international domestic violence hotline, and if somebody has that, I'd like to maybe put it in the chat. But there's the National Domestic Violence Hotline here in America, and there is an international. Anne-Marie B, she's on board with me on the double beep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. This has been 49 minutes of a conversation. I want to just thank each and every one of you for the replay views, for the folks who leave comments down below. I encourage you to leave comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on Roberta Laundrie's breaking her silence and what she said. Let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section. Natasha Richards says, you took the words right out of my mouth. Listen, there's a lot of truth bombs being said here tonight, you know, and again, I am not under any restrictions like my good friend JB is with WFLA now. I don't have to kind of watch what I say. I'm kind of able to say what I feel. And I think it's important that we all hear it. Not just from me, but hear it from you guys, you know? So that's why I'm encouraging you to leave comments down below in the comment section. I always listen to and watch and read and respond to the comments because you guys are the heartbeat of Crime Time with DutyRon. So it is appreciated. It's always, your opinions matter. I respect each and every one of your opinions, whether I agree with them or not. I respect them and I leave them as long as they're not said with any, nastiness or as long as you don't attack somebody in the comment section. And I don't tolerate people attacking other people because their opinions do not align with theirs. So if you come into the comment section here and because someone left an opinion or a comment that you don't like, just refrain from trying to attack those people because it won't be tolerated. All right, guys and girls, as I always like to end these things, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially the Petito and Schmidt family. We send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes, and all victims of crime across the globe. Their families, the surviving families, are the ones who are left behind. We got to get behind them, support them, and that's what we do here on Crime Time with DutyRon. Good night from New York City. I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace from New York.